pasa? What's up? Antonio Serrano here, and today I have a magical tip, yes, for you. In this case, we are going to be focusing on comedy. I know that a lot of people want to be comedy magicians, will love to be comedy magicians, and I think that even if you are not a comedy magician, having a little bit of funny, a little bit of a comedy in your show is always a good thing. Great magicians, like for example René Laván, the Argentinian magician who was very poetical and stuff like that, even he had some kind of humorous beat, comedy beat in his show, because it's great. If you can make people laugh and be amazed at the same time, it's a double whammy, is the expression, right? I think. So a little bit of comedy, and we are going to be focusing on something that I love, which is bad jokes. What can you do if you have a bad joke and you want to use it? That's something that happens to me a lot. A lot of people say to me, Antonio, how on earth can you come up with so many jokes, so funny jokes? And I'm like, I don't come up with a lot of funny jokes. I come up with a lot of jokes in general. And from all those jokes that I come up every day, a very small portion of those jokes are funny. The rest are pretty bad or pretty regular jokes. The difficult part is to separate them, to classify them, like this is good, this is bad, this is more or less, this joke is dead, I can't do anything more with it, this joke is not that good, but I think that I can work on it and make something better. Sometimes I get a very funny joke and I work backwards and that's my big ending. Sometimes I have a very soft joke and I'm like, okay, this could be like the beginning, and now I have to work on funnier toppers to continue with this theme, with this idea. But sometimes you have a very bad joke or a pretty regular joke and you want to use it because it is a funny pun or a funny theme, a funny idea, but people don't laugh that much. How can you incorporate this bad joke into your show without you having to pay the toll of telling a bad joke? So without further ado, I'm going to give you my 4 tips to use bad jokes without hurting yourself in your show. Whoa! Okay, so the first idea that we are going to be sharing here is tell a story about this bad joke, or a story where this bad joke takes place. I'm going to be using examples of comedians that I love for each tip that I'm going to give you. In this case, Louis C.K., one of my favorite comedians, great guy, great timing, great delivery. Louis C.K. has a very simple joke, right? And you can tell that when he tells this joke, this premise, he's not that convinced. He's just sharing with you this idea as, take a look at this thing, this useless thing that I come up with, talking about adult films, right? And he says that he thinks that we don't have the need to create more adult films. Like, it's enough with the amount of adult films that we have, right? And he says that he's telling this to a friend of his, that he's also a comedian. And he's like, he's stupid. Don't try your material on this friend of mine, because he thinks that what you are telling him is real, right? And Louis C.K. says, we don't need more adult films, because if you take like a newborn and you sit this baby on a chair and you start showing him adult films, he would be 28, he would be 30, and he would be still in the A section. I don't want to say bad words in the video, but we don't need to film more adult films. And he says, Louis C.K. says that his friend says to him, and that's true? Is that true? Is there a study about that? And he's like, no, you idiot, it's a joke. Of course it's not true that a newborn would be 30 watching videos. Of course not. So the funny part of the joke is the reaction of his friend. We don't know if it is true, maybe it is completely false. But the thing is that he set that premise of we don't need to film more adult films. He said that premise, and he also said a joke, a punchline, which is, you sit down a baby, he starts watching videos, and he would be 30, and he even wouldn't have finished with the first section. In alphabetical order, he wouldn't have finished with the A section. And And the funny part is the reaction of the friend, because Louis C.K. knows that that bit is not funny enough by itself. You have to put in there another thing, and the other thing is the reaction of someone to that joke. So that's a great idea. You take a bad joke and you create a story which is a funny story around that bad joke. And now it's completely justified to tell that bad joke, okay? Because you are telling it not because of for the sake of telling it, but for the sake of the story, because it's funny. Which is great. A lot of comedians do stuff like that, and this is also a very interesting thing to do when you have very offensive material. If you have a joke that is quite offensive and you are like, I don't know if people are going to be okay with me using that joke, I'm not sure, you can tell a story where that joke is inside, and you can say something. Andrew Schultz talked about this in his videos that are called Inside Jokes, quite interesting videos on YouTube. And he says, you can tell a story saying, okay, I used to tell this joke, but now I don't tell this joke, but this joke goes like this, blah, 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 and you tell the joke, and then from that joke, you tell the story, and people realize that you are telling that joke, not because you want to tell it, but because there is a story attached to that joke. So it is a great way. You are using the bad joke, you are creating that premise, you are pushing that idea, so people know that, okay, he created this, but it's not that funny. The funny comes from the story around it. Okay, next tip. Okay, I love this next tip, and it is use the joke in an interesting way. As simple as that. We already discussed in the first section, in the first tip, that to make a bad joke funny, and we are calling it a bad joke because it is not funny, if you want to use that bad joke, you have to find the funny in another place. In the first section, it was a story attached to the joke, or where the joke is inside the story. In this case, the funny is going to come because you are going to tell the joke in a different way, in a more interesting way. So the funny part is not going to be the joke per se, it's going to be the thing around the joke. Once again, in this case, how you are telling the joke, the situation around the joke. I love, for example, Bo Burnham in his first special, What? You can see it fully, watch it fully on YouTube. He says, okay, now a slow joke, right? And the lights change. There is like a sound of slow motion, and the microphone gets like deeper. So now when he talks, it looks like he's going on slow motion. And now he tells a very silly joke, which was about corn, right? What happens when all the corn fell off? What did the corn say where all of the corn fell off? Like, oh shucks, something like that, okay? I don't know exactly the joke. I'm sorry if I am not telling the joke correctly. But the funny part is not the joke per se. The funny part is he's telling this joke slowly because it is a slow joke, which is great. And another example of this, much easier, the first one is a very Bo Burnham example with lights and sound and all that stuff, but a great example that is much simpler is Eddie Murphy on Delirious, one of the best stand-up specials ever in the history of humankind. Delirious, he finds some kids in the audience. He says, oh my god, there are kids here, why do you bring kids here? Oh my god, they're going to have nightmares, all that stuff. And now he tells a very silly joke to these kids, and the premise is, I'm going to tell you this joke so you can tell it at school, right? You can tell your friends some jokes at school. And now he tells this very silly joke. The thing with the joke is that it is a very, I would say, disgusting joke, and you have to watch it because it's great. It's a disgusting joke. It's not very funny, it's quite simple, but it's disgusting. It's a weird joke. So everyone is laughing not because the joke is very funny. Everyone is laughing because of that idea that he created, that those kids are listening to this joke, which is quite disgusting, and these kids will be in the future telling this joke in the class, in the middle of the class. So that's what's funny about it, the way you are telling this joke, not the joke in itself, the context you are creating around this joke, okay? Another great idea to make more interesting a bad joke or a regular joke. Next tip. Okay, next idea. I love this one, and it is, I discuss about this in other videos, it is basically give the joke to another person. If you have different characters in your show, maybe you are the only one performing, but you are talking about other people, you can say things that other people say to you, so those are characters, even though they are all played by you. Give the joke to another person, and that's something that Kevin Hart does great in one of his specials, where he says that people think that they are funny, and they think that they are helping you, giving you jokes or material, but in fact, they have no idea. And he tells the story of a guy that goes to him and says, okay, I'm gonna give you a joke, okay? I can give you a joke so you can use it, And now he tells a very dumb joke, the dumbest joke ever. And now the funny part in here is not that that bad joke. The funny part is that this guy thinks that joke is good, right? And the reaction of Kevin Hart looking at this guy like, do you really think that I need this joke in my show, right? And it's quite funny. It's like, who do you think I am? It's like, have you ever seen my show? Do you think that is going to fit in my show? Really? So the funny thing, once again, is other things that are surrounding that joke. The bad joke, it's the starter, is the spark for the situation that is the thing that is going to be truly funny. In this case, another person tells me this very bad joke and now I react. And it's quite meta, it's quite theatrical because I am reacting to a bad joke that I created, right? So this joke is my joke, I created this bad joke, right? But I am putting these words that are mine in another person's mouth. So I am not guilty for telling this joke. Another person is guilty for telling this joke. So now I have all the right in the world to make fun of this person for telling me this bad joke, which is great. Louis C.K. Says in interviews that mostly every time when he talks about another person, like I saw a person in a plane complaining because he didn't have internet, Wi-Fi in the plane. He was like, that's a lie. I am that person. I am the person that complains, and then I analyze and I'm like, why am I complaining? I didn't even know like 5 minutes ago that we were going to have Wi-Fi on the plane. So he always gives those thoughts, those ideas to other people to make fun of them, right? Because it's easier to picture. And it's funnier because if you are insulting yourself, it's not as funny as knowing that this person is insulting another human being, which is false. That person doesn't exist, right? So this is a great idea. Take that joke and give it to another person. If in your magic show you don't have characters, you are basically talking about you and everything you say is from your perspective, I think that you should try to add some characters, talk about other people, create dialogues. Is great. It's very visual and very theatrical. It's a great way to fill an entire stage. I have seen a lot of plays which are monologues played by only one actor, but he's playing like 10, 12, 15 different characters and it completely fills the stage. So that's one of the main advice that I can give you. If you don't have characters to give bad jokes to, you should start on creating characters in some of your routines. Okay, let's continue. Okay, and this is the last tip, and this is a tip that I love, and it is highlight how dumb you are. I think this is the most difficult tip to do because in fact it's basically telling the bad joke without any kind of safety net. The only thing that you do to have that kind of safety net in there is to say how dumb you are. Is I am so dumb that, and at that point you can put anything you want, like a very bad joke or anything like that. Louis C.K. once again has a very good bit talking about his dumb thoughts. And it is great because in that sequence, in that part of the show, he can say anything. The dumbest the thing he says, the better. It doesn't matter because the premise of the joke is I am so dumb. So it is basically like the previous tip of making fun of someone, but in this case he's making fun of himself for how silly his thoughts are, right? This is a very difficult thing to do because, as I said before, it's much easier to make fun, to make people laugh when you are insulting another person and they are visualizing you insulting another person because the other person said something pretty stupid. In this case, people have to laugh because you are saying stupid things or you are thinking about stupid things, right? But it is a great tool. It is a great tool because once you establish this personality of I am so dumb, I am so dumb, I have these very dumb thoughts and ideas, you can say virtually anything and you start making fun of yourself, which is more difficult for people to laugh, but it is better because maybe you're not going to find people that get offended, right? Because you are making fun of yourself. You are calling yourself dumb, not another person, okay? It is great, and this is something that I talk in some videos from magical characters, the videos that I have talking about non-magic celebrities and what things we can learn from them. And I said that something that a lot of comedians do is finding that balance between being very silly, very dumb, and very clever, very intelligent. So this is a great premise for that. Like, I am so dumb, I am such an idiot, and you start saying bad jokes, things that you create, like, oh my god, I thought about this joke. How dumb am I? And now you can start analyzing why you are so dumb for thinking about that. And you don't even have to be funny, you simply have to be logical, because you establish how illogical, how dumb you are, and how easy it is to be logical, but it is impossible for you because you are extremely dumb. So finding that balance, kind of like Monty Python, stuff like that, I talk about that in a magical character video. Finding that balance between being silly and being extremely clever is great. People find that balance and that, oh my god, this guy's stupid. No, this guy knows what he's doing. Oh, but he's so silly. That makes people interesting in that kind of roller coaster ride. Okay, so guys, I hope that you find this information useful. Please subscribe, comment all of the bad jokes that you know down below. This is going to be a blast, and I will see you, as always, in a near future.